and welcome back to Belmont Bunch today, where I'm doing my playoff bracket. It's going to be fun, I think. The last couple years, I think I've done all right from what I remember. My preseason standings projections did not go very well, but I'll do a video on that soon. Anyway, let's get right to it. I have my notes here. We're going to start in the West. Colorado, Nashville. Season series 3-1-1 Nashville. Interesting. Injuries. Now, Landeskog has not played, I think it was since March 10th. And Ryan Murray has been hurt. But the biggest injury in this series, UC Saros. If Nashville had UC Saros, I'd give them a chance. Because any NHL team that has good goaltending in the playoffs and is good enough to make it to the playoffs has a chance. But Saros is not going to play in this series. So we're going to give it to Colorado. I called a sweep. Now that could be mean. Ryan Johansson had a great year. Matt Duchene had a great year. Obviously Roman Josi had a great year. So there's star power on Nashville for sure. But I'm not certain that they have enough depth on the back end. And now it's on David Rittich. Hey, the playoffs have had crazy goaltending performances before. Binnington comes to mind, obviously. But I feel pretty confident that Colorado at least will win the first round. Ooh. All right, Minnesota-St. Louis. Really might be the series of the first round. Minnesota won the... St. Louis won the regular season series 3-0. 3.72. Very similar offense. St. Louis with a somewhat better defense. St. Louis penalty kill. Power play really good. Special teams are really good for St. Louis, and for me, that's the difference. Marc-Andre Fleury has not been great recently, and though Minnesota has that backup they can go to in Cam Talbot, who has playoff experience, who can jump in, I'm feeling a little bit better about St. Louis, who could probably say the same thing with Husso starting and then Binnington as the backup. But for me, it's the special teams. They're far and few between compared to the regular season come playoff time, the penalties that are called. But if there's a team to make use of it out of these two, it's St. Louis, coming off of a career year for Vlad Tarasenko. Jordan Kyrie's been amazing. Although a little bit less so in the second half. Robert Thomas, though, has been great in the second half. Buchnevich. They have O'Reilly. They have a really, really, really experienced, but they still experienced team that still has youth that is adding some flair. So I really, really like St. Louis. To Minnesota's credit, Minnesota scores in a way that I like about the Islanders, which is depth scoring. Not a star-studded team, but it's a good group. Foligno being hurt, but sounds like he might play for Game 1. Does a little bit of damage because he plays that playoff style of throwing his body around and can score. But St. Louis, for me, edges out Minnesota in 7. And I think I said Colorado. I have a sweep for Colorado. So that means Colorado's getting knocked out. Now, Calgary and Dallas. Rematch of, I think, the 2020 series. Calgary could have won that series. Found a way not to. Very different this time around. Calgary coming in as a juggernaut and a team that I don't think is ready to choke. They have one of the best defenses in the league. The goaltending's been a big part of their goals against, being only .251. They score at one of the highest clips in the league. Their top 6 is unreal. I'm very interested to see playoff Lucic and see what's left in the tank. Dylan Dubé is a good depth scorer. Monahan's not going to be there. That's a bit of a hit. Well, more so to the experience side, not as much to the actual production side. But I'm going to take Calgary, and I have it in... I don't have 4. I have 6. Dallas has enough structure and veterans, I think, to claw a game or two. I probably should have given it 5. You know what? I'll change it to 5 and really put myself in the Calgary boat. That can't go wrong. All right, Edmonton, LA. Edmonton, much higher scoring. The defense is not as far apart as you would think. The goaltending is going to be really interesting in this series because, Mike Smith, who knows what you're going to get. Mikko Koskinen. And then LA, decent goaltending between Peterson and Quick. Defense is missing Drew Doughty at the moment. That's a big hit. So I do have Edmonton because now the high-end talent isn't going to get you super far on its own in the playoffs because of the style, because of the way the game's called. But in the first round, I think Edmonton should still take down LA, but this is a really interesting one. I think if LA finds a way to win this series, that means that, I don't know, maybe this year was refereed differently. If Edmonton wins the series, it's probably just off scoring prowess and, outscoring Mike Smith's mistakes. For LA, they got to make every game a grind fest. They have to lean on their goaltending. They're going to have to make Connor McDavid's life miserable. But even then, Edmonton, as we've seen the last few years, Draisaitl is unbelievable. Can drive his own line. So it's going to be, I think, too difficult a task without Doughty for LA to, put the fire out on both of those lines. So I'll continue here for now. Colorado, St. Louis. Two teams that can score. But with Colorado, not a great penalty kill. Very good power play. Really not a good penalty kill. So that scares me a little bit. St. Louis, like I said, very good special teams. 26.5 power play. 84.4 PK. The goaltending, I would give the edge to Colorado. We saw what Kemper can do with Arizona a couple years ago. Husso, it's tough to really say what he's going to do in the playoffs. If Binnington's in there, maybe playoff magic, but he's just been pedestrian the last year or so. It's a really, really tough one for me. I do have Colorado skirting by, and this would be kind of a rite of passage for them, because the second round has been a sticking ground for them for a few years now. And St. Louis is a team that has the experience that can absolutely put this one seed to the test. And Minnesota probably can too if they get through. This is a tough part of the bracket. Colorado, it's not going to be easy past the first round. And I'm predicting it will be easy in the first round, which means it won't. But Colorado, I think this is the year they get over that hump. But how much further will they go? I keep going with that. All right, Battle of Alberta. For the right to passage to the conference finals in the West. Should be a fun, high-scoring, physical series. I would liken this maybe to the Florida-Tampa series from last year, which we talked about in our podcast last week with Sterling. I'm going to take Calgary. I like the goaltending a lot better. I think the high-end talent is close, and I like the Calgary depth a little bit better. And I like their blue line better. So, Calgary. So, it's the 1 versus the 2 in the West Finals. And what are we going to do? I'm going to go with Calgary. I like their defense better. I like their special teams better. And I like their goaltending better. And the scoring could, probably be a wash. Regular season, it was Colorado slightly. I'm going to take Calgary to go to the Stanley Cup Finals, ladies and gentlemen. It's 2004 again. Ooh. That's incorrect. Gary. Emphasis on the Gary. There we go. All right. Let's go to the East. All righty. Florida. Washington. Florida, over 4 goals per game this year. Very, very incredibly impressive from Florida. Washington, a bit of a banged up Ovi. No goaltending, no defense to speak of. Even with Radko Gudas slightly roughed up, I'm going to take Florida fairly easily. I have 5. And this is going to be an interesting series because I think because Washington's defense and goaltending is not very good, it's going to give Bob more time to ease in. Because the Florida offense gives him time to ease into any game. And Washington, despite still having firepower, really, really struggles to keep the puck out of their own net. And that's just not a good matchup for them with Florida. So Florida in 5. Toronto, Tampa Bay, one of the most exciting first-round series. I said similar for St. Louis, Minnesota. I think this series is going to be great. And for Toronto, this is big. I mean, Austin, you can't waste one of the best years of a Maple Leaf ever. It has to be. And Austin Matthews, 60 goals. Improved, has been a great defensive player as well. On the power play, has been a maniac. Mitch Marner's been unbelievable. Michael Bunting has gotten the job done. John Tavares has been John Tavares. The goaltending, it's going to come down to, like it always does. And I would say their goaltending is worse than with Freddie. And thus I am very worried for them. I am taking Tampa. Tampa has recently been on a bit of a resurgence. And there's not a lot of teams that at the end of the year I take a ton out of their last few games. But Tampa Bay getting right by like wiping away some decent teams, including Toronto, really makes me think Tampa Bay is taking this in 7. Yeah, Tampa Bay they just won't go away. And I will use black because I think they should go back to that. Also, this series will be the worst jersey series. Not because Toronto's jerseys are bad, because they're the same colors. Carolina, Boston. For me, I guess the dark horse of the first round, series-wise, should be incredibly compelling. Two teams that can do a little bit of everything. They can defend. They had good goaltending this year, and they can score. And both teams have high-end talent on both the blue line and defensively. Anthony DeAngelo has done a good job this year. Tony DeAngelo, has done a good job offensively this year, filling in for the whole Dougie Hamilton left for a lot less money. They get a lot of depth scoring. Jordan Stahl's been picking it up recently. Third-line center. They've got Martin Nikas, who has a lot of skill and is getting, there. Nino Niederreiter, I like as a middle 6 option, has been pretty good for them. Svech, I really want to see Svech go and prove himself as one of the league's best snipers against David Pastrnak. This should be a fun series. A lot of goals. Even though both these teams can defend, I think there's going to be a decent amount of goals. But who am I going to take? Because of the question marks right now in Carolina's net, I feel a little bit safer going with Boston. Now, Boston doesn't really have a true number 1 right now because Ullmark played well at the end of the year, and it kind of shook up the Swayman, Ullmark, I guess, hierarchy, although it didn't shake up their friendship. And that's all that matters because they still hug at the end of the games. But I'm going to take Boston. Boston's kind of the team that never dies, and despite Carolina sweeping the regular season series, I don't know, I'm kind of going with my gut here. Boston's a playoff team. They're getting healthy at the right time. Carolina, if their goaltending was all right, even if their goaltending was all right, I would have some worries about Freddie Anderson, Boston PTSD stuff. So, Boston. Finally, in the first round, to close that out, Rangers, Pittsburgh. I think on paper, all the analytics say that Pittsburgh is the better team. But Pittsburgh's had this weird cloud around them this year. Malkin really just kind of a nut with some of the, the suspension-worthy stuff recently. They got goalied a few times in the regular season by Shesterkin, and Shesterkin seems pretty motivated against them because he was doing the talk thing. And I think the Rangers are going to goalie them. I think Igor Shesterkin is going to goalie the Pens. And, towards the end of the regular season, I think there were 2 different times that they shut out Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, to me, it gives off the vibe of a crumbling dynasty. And for the Rangers, I think they've had a decent combination of skill and grit. Andrew Kopp has paid off pretty well for them. And Tyler Mott, he's injured. That would be nice. That'd be a nice playoff performer type guy. He's a gritty guy. He also scored an unbelievable goal for Vancouver. I think it was a couple years ago against Vegas. in the bubble. And, so that's a shame. But our Temi Panarin's firing on all cylinders. The Rangers' top six is firing pretty well. It's going to be interesting to see that fourth line and see how much they can kind of do what the Islanders did with their identity line and just wreck shop. I don't think it has as much scoring punch as that Islander fourth line of a year and 2 years ago did. But still could get under somebody like Malkin's skin. Jari being hurt definitely plays a role in this because Pittsburgh can't afford to go behind early. They got to keep the series close. They can't go down 2 games. Shesterkin could just shut the door. So Jari missing time early in the series. That's tough. Florida, Tampa Bay, the Florida series. So excited for this. Unbelievable hockey last year. Really excited for it again. Let's hope Radko Gudas is healthy so that we can have a nice, fun Goon series. This was everything I want in a playoff hockey series last year, and I don't expect that to stop this year. Now, this year, what could be different? What could be the same is the Florida goaltending. It scares me. I don't trust Bob to just turn it on. Vasi has not been amazing this year. But I do trust Vasi to get good, better, quicker. And I think I have Tampa Bay again in 7. So maybe Tampa Bay is starting to get a little bit tired at this point, because I suspect the Toronto series will be interesting. But the Toronto series might not be. I know Sheldon Keefe said he thinks it's gonna be this like bloodbath, borderline violent, but it might be, but it might just be Tampa beating up on Toronto physicality wise. So Tampa Bay, unfortunately. I say unfortunately not sour grapes from the Islanders the last couple of years, but just, I'd like to see Florida win. If this were in the West, it's kind of like Calgary. I want to see a team that hasn't done it in a while do something, and for Florida, it's been 26 years, so at least I have them winning that series, that series that they haven't been able to win forever. But Tampa Bay, I'm scared. They're getting right at the right time. Florida definitely has provided more offense this year, but Tampa Bay getting healthy at the right time. Steven Stamkos having a really, really underrated year. Tampa Bay, I don't know. They got a magic about them. When you win the Cup, that happens. Boston, New York. I am taking Boston. So, I think this, again, I think I'm going full intangible guy, but Boston, just in the playoffs, they find ways. I know last year the Islanders series didn't go their way. Very easily could have. Tuukka Rask wasn't amazing. The Isles were also playing like really, really like their most inspired hockey. I was watching highlights of that the other day, because I'm sad. And they were bringing the roof down on the Coliseum in those games. Boston, ton of playoff experience. For the Rangers, maybe it's one of those, build-up years where it's like, hey, they got further than you would have thought this year. I don't know if Igor can goalie Boston. Boston has a lot of scoring talent. I know Pittsburgh does too. But Boston seems to have, or more recently, Boston got to Igor, and I think Boston, come playoff time, is a little bit more put together this year. Craig Smith, great playoff performer, possibly, for Boston. He has a lot of experience in the past. So I've got Boston. Conference Finals. Tampa Bay or Boston. I'm going with the black. That tells you nothing. I am going with Tampa Bay. Now, it's tough. Like I said, maybe, what's it called? Tampa Bay, maybe they're starting to get tired. It is really, 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 really difficult to continue to play seasons as long as they are, basically playing a second season in the postseason for 3 straight years and going as far as they have and playing series that have demanded serious tolls. Boston has played a lot of series as well, but Tampa Bay, I trust the goaltending a little bit more, and that matters to me. Boston could be a little bit better defensively, and Vasi, I think, is going to steal more than Swayman/Holmark for Tampa, and then Tampa always seems to capitalize on their chances the other way, and it could be a similar blueprint to how Boston lost the Islanders last year, where Tampa Bay just goes off on the man advantage. So for Boston, they're going to have to be very, very resolute and smart in terms of not taking penalties. Boston's PK, or was it, was pretty good this year, 81.5. Power play is pretty good. For Tampa, their special teams, pretty similar, a little bit better power play. I expect this to be one of the best, probably not the best hockey to watch because they both know how to grind out playoff style. So probably not the most exciting series here. This series should be fun. So it's the fun and not fun. Stanley Cup Final. Who do I got? I had a change of heart on this very recently. As in, literally talking myself through it in the video right now. I have my bracket that I've done for my bracket challenges. And this is bold. Going with the Calgary Flames. Why am I doing this to myself? I did it again. Bear with me. Now, this could all be fool's gold. Calgary's done that before. I really thought they were going to go pretty far as the 1 seed against Dallas a few years ago. That did not happen. But Calgary, to me, they've got the goaltending. They defend pretty well. They score at an elite rate. And I think a lot of this is finally now, as I just talked about for this series, Tampa Bay, how much is left in the gas tank. Like, Calgary almost benefits from not being as good the last few years. They do have playoff experience. It's been brutal, but they do have some. And I think I have a tingling about this. So reverse the 2004. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's reverse the karma of 2004 and the puck going over the line and all things get evened out in the end. Maybe it takes over a decade. Maybe we're close to 2. But I have Calgary winning the cup. And I basically am rooting for a Calgary or Colorado-Florida final because I do love watching Florida play hockey. But Calgary, there's a way to win in the playoffs. It's very difficult to shake that up too much. And I think Florida still, they're in a weird spot with goalies. We talked about on the podcast. They couldn't really improve at the deadline because you have your backup goalie who's your future, and you can't, I don't think they're going to send him down. And Sergei Bobrovsky, unmovable contract. So they're kind of set in a bad situation unless one of them absolutely goes off, and we haven't seen that. So Jacob Markstrom, on the other hand, has. And with Vasi maybe having a quieter year, maybe in the final, Markstrom is the one that steals the show. But yeah, I literally even still have on my bracket Tampa Bay winning. I'm going to change that now. So I did the Isles guys bracket. If you guys know the Isles guys, they are big fans of capybaras, and they're also big fans of doing a bracket. Look at them on Instagram, and you can see the way to enter, although this video is going to be coming out real tight to the finish. I have been just obliterated with work recently, so that's what kept the Islander recaps away. I'm going to put this out tonight, and then I'm going to have to do work again, and then watch playoff hockey late in the night, and then tomorrow probably do the last couple recaps, which are probably going to be more general state of the team type things. But anyway, I want to end this video. It's gone on long enough. Link in the description for the audio-only version of this podcast, which hopefully doesn't sound like a raving lunatic today, because I am clearly still dealing with a lot of work and very frazzled, to use a very masculine word. So that's it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please, I love seeing different people's brackets. Because, I don't know, I got to compare mine to something. And that's it. We'll see you next time on Belmont Bunch. Bye.